Welcome to The Explainer. You know, right now there's this quiet but really powerful shift happening in AI. We're building machines that don't just find information, but can actually understand how it all connects. This is the story of how AI is getting, well, a brand new kind of brain.
And our story starts, like so many do these days, on Reddit. A developer, right in the trenches, was pushing their AI to its limits and hit this exact wall. Simple questions? Yeah, it worked fine. But the moment things got complex, the whole system just fell apart. And that one single frustration, it perfectly captures the problem that's kicking off a huge leap forward for AI.
So, what is going on here? What's causing this problem? Well, it all comes down to the limits of a really popular AI technique that honestly has been the go-to solution for a while. We're about to see exactly why just finding a bunch of facts isn't even close enough for the kind of smart AI we actually need. That technique is called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or just RAG for short. Now, the whole reason RAG was invented was to stop large language models, LLMs, from just making stuff up. The idea itself is kind of brilliant. Before the AI answers your question, it does a quick search, finds some relevant documents, and uses that info like a cheat sheet. It helps ground the answer in facts, not in fiction.
But, as our developer on Reddit found out, RAG has its limits, big time. See, its understanding is pretty shallow. It can read the words on the page, but it doesn't really get the deep connections between the ideas. And because of that, it can still hallucinate, give you an answer that sounds totally plausible, but is just wrong. And the biggest problem, it completely misses the hidden relationships. It's like having all the pieces to a jigsaw puzzle right in front of you, but having absolutely no clue how they connect to form the bigger picture.
Okay, so if the big problem is that the AI can't see the connections between things, then the solution is actually pretty clear, right? We have to give it a way to see those connections. We need to upgrade its memory from just a simple list of facts into a true web of knowledge.
And this gets right to the whole thing. Most RAG systems use what's called a vector database. Just think of it like a giant pile of digital sticky notes. Sure, facts are kind of grouped together if they're similar, but they aren't actually connected. The alternative is a knowledge graph. And that's not a pile of notes, it's a fully connected mind map. It doesn't just store the facts, it stores the relationships between them.
So what is a knowledge graph really? Just think of it as a network. It's got nodes, which are just things, like a person, Marie Curie, or an element, polonium. And then it has edges, and those are the relationships that connect the nodes. So you no longer have two separate facts floating around, you have one single piece of structured knowledge. Marie Curie discovered polonium. That connection, that verb, that is the game changer.
Here's a really great way to think about this whole partnership. The knowledge graph is like the logical, structured, fact-checking left brain. Meanwhile, the LLM is the creative, flexible right brain with all of its power to interpret things and use language beautifully. When you put them together, you don't just get a smarter AI, you get a more complete, more balanced intelligence.
Okay, so we've got the factual left brain and the creative right brain. But how do you actually get them to work together? Well, the process is called Graph RAG, and this is where the real magic happens, where you combine that structured data with creative language to get something new.
The whole process is actually pretty elegant. It all starts with your question. The system takes a look and figures out what you're really asking. But then, instead of just grabbing some random chunks of text, it pulls a subgraph, a perfect little custom map of connected facts right out of the knowledge graph. That rich, structured context is then handed over to the LLM, which now has everything it needs to give you a much, much smarter answer.
And the results? They really speak for themselves. This quote from the experts at Neo-J says it all. The answers become more precise, accurate, and contextually relevant. What does that mean in plain English? It means this is the silver bullet for the AI hallucination problem. You're grounding the AI in a web of proven truth, which makes it incredibly difficult for it to go off the rails.
And for the developers who are actually building these AI systems, there is another massive win. As Avi Teller points out here, graphs give you visibility. The AI stops being a black box. You can literally see the path of its logic, step by step. So when it messes up, you know exactly where and why. And that's something that's almost impossible to figure out with the old methods.
Now, this isn't just some cool theory stuck in a research lab. This technology is already out there, in the real world, tackling some of the most complex problems we have. So let's take a look at where it's already making a huge difference.
Just look at the range here. We're seeing it pop up everywhere from finance to healthcare. So, for example, think about fraud detection. An AI can now connect a bunch of seemingly random accounts and transactions across a giant e-commerce site to uncover a sophisticated fraud ring. Or in healthcare, it can link a specific patient's medical records with data from clinical trials to find new treatment options. In every single one of these cases, the goal is the same: find those hidden connections that a human would almost certainly miss.
So where is all of this headed? This is more than just a simple software update for AI. What we're really seeing is the start of a deep, symbiotic evolution, a future where these two different approaches, the logical and the creative, are going to push each other to become something else entirely.
Yeah, the roadmap for what's next is fascinating. So, step one is what we've been talking about, using knowledge graphs to make LLMs smarter and more reliable. But then, the roles flip. We'll start using the LLMs to automatically build and expand our knowledge graphs just by reading raw text. And the end game? A truly symbiotic system. A perfect feedback loop where the logical brain and the creative brain are constantly teaching each other and improving each other.
And that brings us to a final, much bigger idea. You know, for all of human history, building knowledge meant collecting individual facts one by one. But we are now building tools that understand the connections between those facts as their native language. So I'll just leave you with this question. When our AI starts thinking in webs instead of lists, how does that change not just the future of technology, but maybe even our own understanding of the world? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.